Yeah, I know. All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the April 28th Historic Resources Commission meeting. This meeting is being broadcast on the city's YouTube channel and on Public Access Channel 25. I'll just run through some notes very quickly, and then I will throw it back to the chair. Commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, please mute yourself when not speaking. You can do this by hitting the microphone icon on your screen. Commission members, applicants, members of the public, please state your name and title each time you speak. Staff will also state their name and title each time they speak. If and when you're ready to make a motion, commissioners, please second, and the chair will call roll in order to take the vote. With that, I'll remind everybody to remain muted when you're not speaking, and at this point, I will throw it back to Chair Meyer.
Thank you. This is Jody Meyer, Chair of the Historic Resources Commission. Welcome everyone to our April 28, 2022 meeting. Can you hear me? I feel like my internet is a little wacky. Okay. This was a meeting that was continued from last week due to lack of quorum. So we'll go ahead with our first agenda items, communications. Have we received any communications from other commissions, the State Historic Preservation Officer and or the general public?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Commissioner Chair Meyer will need to take a roll call vote to see who's present this evening.
Thank you. Sometimes I forget. I did it last week and I forgot this week. So yes, we will go ahead and take a roll call of commissioners present. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby present.
Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson here.
Okay, Commissioner Ezell is not here. Commissioner Klein?
Commissioner Klein is present.
Thank you. Commissioner Hawley?
Commissioner Hawley present.
And Commissioner Meyer obviously present. So we do have 5 commissioners present this evening. So we do have quorum. We're missing one, and there is still an open position on the commission, which is why we don't have a full panel of 7. So with that being said, I guess I'll ask the question again regarding communications from other folks. Do we have any?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. There are no communications this evening.
Okay, this is Commissioner Meyer again. Is there any disclosure of ex parte communications this evening by commissioners? All right, I don't see any. Is there any declaration of abstentions for any specific agenda items by commissioners this evening? I don't think so. No one's abstaining. Do we have any committee reports this evening?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. The Architectural Review Committee did meet since your last meeting for 2 items on this evening's agenda, and those meeting notes and process will be discussed with those agenda items.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer again. Thank you, Lynn. We will, I guess, deal with those on those agenda items. We will then move on to our consent agenda. There are a number of administrative or design review applications under administrative approvals that have already been reviewed and approved by staff.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. Commissioner Irby here, and it looks like Commissioner Ezell is in the waiting room.
Oh. Mr. Chair Meyer, thank you, Kelly. There he is. All right, Commissioner Ezell is present. Do not worry, we did not take up anything exciting in your absence. So, all right, now we do have a full commission of people who are already appointed. And Commissioner Ezell, prior to you coming in, we had just asked if there were any disclosure of ex parte communications or abstentions from specific agenda items for this evening. Do you have any of those? I assume not.
Commissioner Ezell, no, I do not.
Mr. Meyer again, thank you. Lynn, do we have any public comment on any design review applications?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. We received no public comment. There's no one raising their hand on the Zoom meeting, and there's no one in the City Commission room that wishes to speak on the administrative approvals.
Okay, Chair Meyer, thank you. Is there any commission discussion on the design review applications? All right, I don't think so. I will move that we confirm the design review applications according to the standards and information listed in the staff report for each application. Is there a second?
Commissioner Hawley, seconded.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer. I made a motion. Commissioner Hawley made a second. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote on that. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell?
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Commissioner Klein, yes.
Commissioner Hawley?
Commissioner Hawley, aye.
And Commissioner Meyer is an aye, so that motion carries 6-0. We'll now move on to just general public comment. Lynn, is there any general public comment this evening?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. We have no one who's raising their hand on Zoom, and there's no one in the City Commission room to provide public comment.
This is Chair Meyer. Thank you, Lynn. We will then move on to our public hearing items. We do have 6 items on the agenda for tonight, so this may take a little longer than we usually have had. So that being said, we will take up the first item on the agenda, which is L22-00027, which is a public hearing for consideration of placing the structure located at 1709 Louisiana Street on the Lawrence Register of Historic Places.
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. This is a very exciting nomination to the Lawrence Register. It is currently listed in the National Register of Historic Places. It's the Handel T. Martin House located at 1709 Louisiana Street. I hope you had a chance to read the National Register nomination. There was a lot of good information in that nomination. For nomination to the Lawrence Register of Historic Places, it is being nominated under criteria 3 and 4 in Chapter 22, Section 22-403. Criteria 3 is for the identification with a person or persons who significantly contributed to the development of the community, county, state, or nation. The property is associated with Handel T. Martin, who's associated with the developing field of vertebrate paleontology during the period of significance. Martin served as field and laboratory worker and instructor and assistant curator of the natural history collections at the University of Kansas in the early 20th century. According to the National Register of Historic Places nomination, Martin has been recognized by the Vertebrate Paleontology program at the University of Kansas for his significant contribution to the fossil collections and for training numerous students who went on to distinguished careers in the field during the 20th century. It's also being nominated under criteria 4 for the embodiment of distinguishing characteristics of an architectural style valuable for study of a period type, method of construction, or use of indigenous materials. And the house is a good example of American Foursquare with colonial revival detailing. This is showing the project location, and now we're looking at the main facade of the house, and you'll notice some of the architectural detailing with the gable returns. There's shingling in the upper gable as well as the porch gable, showing the north in the front of the house. This is showing the rear of the house where the 2 additions that are mentioned in the National Register nomination are. This is the environs that will be created if the property is listed in the Lawrence Register of Historic Places. The environs is proposed to be one area with residential character of the environs, the primary focus of review. Staff is recommending that you adopt Resolution 2022-01 to recommend approval of the landmark nomination to the Lawrence Register of Historic Places to the City Commission pursuant to Criteria 3 and Criteria 4 in Section 22-403A. Staff is also recommending that you direct staff to prepare a report to the City Commission to accompany the resolution, including the information set forth in Section 22-404.2B and to Section 22-404.2G and the environs definition as outlined in the staff report. And with that, I'd be happy to stand for any questions you may have.
This is Chair Meyer again. Thank you, Lynn. Is the applicant present?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I do not see the applicant present. I know they were trying to be here last week, and I think they had a conflict for tonight.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer again. Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. There are no hands raised on the Zoom, and there is no one in the City Commission room to speak on the item.
Okay, thank you. I guess we'll bring it back to the commission for any discussion.
This is Commissioner Irby. I agree with staff that this is a very exciting, and I support staff's recommendations and would happily make a motion.
This is Commissioner Hawley. I will, similar to Commissioner Irby, this seems exciting and would personally love to hear Commissioner Irby's motion.
This is Chair Meyer again, and I'm happy to make a motion also. So I have the exact language down, Commissioner Irby, if you want me to go ahead and read it. I would move that we adopt Resolution 2022-01 to recommend approval of the landmark nomination to the Lawrence Register of Historic Places to the City Commission pursuant to Criteria 3 and Criteria 4 in Section 22-403A. And I don't know that it requires a motion, but it would also direct staff to prepare a report to the City Commission to accompany the resolution, including the information set forth in Section 22-404.2B to Section 22-404.2G, and the environs definition is listed in the staff report. Is there a second?
Commissioner Irby, second.
Okay, there's been a motion by Chair Meyer and a second by Commissioner Irby. We'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell?
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Commissioner Klein, aye.
Commissioner Hawley?
Commissioner Hawley, aye.
And Commissioner Meyer is an aye, so that motion carries 6-0. All right. We'll move on then to the next item on the agenda, which is DR-22-69, 635 Mississippi Street.
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. This is for new construction of a primary residence. The property is located in the environs of the Robert E. House residence, located at 645 Mississippi Street, and the Wilder Clark House, located at 643 Indiana Street. This is the property location. And this shows the environs for the two properties of which this property is located within. The applicant requests to construct a new structure on the property now identified as 635 Mississippi Street. The structure would be 26 feet 4 inches tall and would be 2 stories. The structure would have a footprint of 1,290 square feet. Fiber cement lap siding would sheathe the structure, and it would have an asphalt shingle roof. Windows would be fiberglass. Standard 9 of Section 22-505 and the design criteria in Section 22-506.1 apply. This is showing the primary elevation, the side elevation, the rear elevation, and the other side elevation. Here's a front view showing a little bit of that south side. And then the opposite view. Staff is recommending that you find, in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, the standards of evaluation, find that a proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed project. I'd be happy to stand for any questions that you may have.
This is Chair Meyer. Thank you. Is the applicant present? I think they are.
I am.
You don't have to say anything, but you can if you'd like.
I'm happy to answer questions if there are any.
Okay, thank you. This is Chair Meyer again. Is there any public comment on this item?
Luke Mortensen, Planning and Development Services. There's nobody in the City Commission room, and there are no public commenters on Zoom.
All right, this is Chair Meyer again. Thank you. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion or a motion.
Commissioner Irby, given that this is a certificate of appropriateness, I don't have a problem with it. I agree with staff that it's fine.
This is Chair Meyer. I'm of the same opinion.
Commissioner Irby, I will go ahead and make a motion. I move that in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, the standards of evaluation find that the proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for this project.
Chair Meyer, is there a second?
This is Commissioner Ezell, I second.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer again. Commissioner Irby has made a motion. There's been a second by Commissioner Ezell. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell?
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Commissioner Klein, aye.
Commissioner Hawley?
Commissioner Hawley, aye.
And Commissioner Meyer is an aye, so that motion carries 6-0. Good luck on your project.
Thank you so much.
All right, this is Chair Meyer again. We'll move on to the next agenda item, which is DR-22-77. It's 2114 Barker Avenue.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. This is an addition to an existing accessory structure. The property is located in the environs of the Adam and Annie Rotman House, located at 2127 Barker Avenue. This shows the property location, and the blue to the left, on the left side of your screen, is the Rotman House, so it's directly across the street. The applicant requests to construct a 665 square foot addition to the accessory structure located at 2114 Barker Avenue. The addition would be placed on the east side of the existing structure. It would be 2 stories and approximately 21 feet tall. The addition would be clad with vertical metal panels and would have an asphalt shingled roof. The windows would be Anderson 100 Fibrex windows. Standard 9 and the environs definition for the Rotman House apply. And here's the site plan showing the accessory structure that exists with the new proposed addition to the right. This is the front elevation. The existing structure is in the foreground, and then you can see the addition behind it. This is showing the north garage elevation with the new addition to the left of your screen, the original structure on the right. This is showing the west garage elevation. This is the new addition, what it would look like on the rear. And this is the south garage elevation with the existing structure on the left and the new addition on the right. And this is showing a southwest view of what the building would look like with the new addition. I put this in here because if you noticed in the staff report, there was some discussion about the overall size and mass of the proposed new addition that had some concerns for staff. But at a previous Historic Resources Commission meeting, the addition to the primary structure was approved. That addition shows in the middle of this slide. That's to the right of the existing primary structure that shows all the way to the far left. The addition to this accessory structure is very similar in design to that addition that was approved for the primary structure. So staff is recommending, in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, the standards of evaluation, that the commission find that the proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed project. I'd be happy to stand for any questions you might have.
Mrs. Chair Meyer, is the applicant present?
I am. Yeah. Sorry, I just turned on my video.
That's fine. That's fine. Is there anything that you wanted to add? Don't feel obligated.
No, I don't have anything in particular to add, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody may have.
Thank you. That's Chair Meyer again. Is there any public comment on this item?
Luke Mortensen, Planning Development Services. There's nobody in the City Commission room, and there's nobody on Zoom.
Chair Meyer again, thank you. We'll go ahead and bring it back to the commission for discussion.
This is Commissioner Johnson. I have two questions just to make sure I'm understanding everything correctly. So the garage and the attachment. So there's a garage door, the old garage door, and then there's a garage door off of the alley as well. So both ends have garage doors.
There's not an alley in Barker. So the garage door in the back part of that is just like so you can get your lawnmower out and mow the back.
Ah, okay. That's what I
Yeah.
was, okay. And then the siding on the new accessory building is the same as what's on the existing addition to the house?
Yeah, the addition is in construction now. We just started, but the idea being that both the carriage house and the new addition will match in terms of, you know, materials we use for siding and windows and that kind of, so they'll look the same. In the siding on the existing garage that's there now, and the siding on the original house will also be, you know, similar, or they'll be.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Yep.
Chair Meyer, I guess I'm in favor of the project. I don't know that I need to say anything else about it. I'll go ahead and make a motion that in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, the standards of evaluation find that the proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed project. Is there a second?
Commissioner Irby, second.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer again. I made a motion. Commissioner Irby made a second. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby.
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson.
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell.
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein.
Commissioner Klein, aye.
Commissioner Hawley.
Commissioner Hawley, aye.
And Commissioner Meyer is an aye. So that motion carries 6-0. So good luck on your project.
Thank you.
All righty, this is Chair Meyer again, moving right along. We'll go to the next item on the agenda, which is DR 22-78, 820 Louisiana Street.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. This application is for a new accessory structure. The property is located in the environs of the Jacob House residence located at 805 Ohio Street. This is the primary structure on the property. This is a view showing where the new accessory structure will be located. This is the site plan that shows on the top right where the new accessory structure will be located and what it looks like on the site. This is an elevation. This will be the alley view. And this is one of the side elevations showing it in respect to the house. And then the other view showing no fenestration and its relationship to the house. This, the applicant is requesting the new accessory structure that would be 1-story, 484 square foot structure. It would be located along the alley, as I mentioned, on the northeast corner of the property. The structure would be clad with fiber cement lap siding to match the width of the house and would have a gable roof sheathed with asphalt shingles. Overall, the project meets Standard 9 of Chapter 22, the design criteria of Chapter 22, and the review criteria for the environs of the Jacob House residence. Staff is recommending that you find, in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, the standards of evaluation, that the proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for the proposed project. The applicant and their architect had a conflict for tonight. I will mention they were here last week when the project, when the meeting was postponed, but I have been in discussions with them and should be able to answer any questions that you may have.
Mrs. Chair Meyer, thank you. Is there any public comment on this item?
Luke Mortensen, Planning and Development Services. There's nobody in the City Commission room and there's no Zoom commenters.
Mrs. Chair Meyer, thank you. We'll bring it back to the commission for discussion then. I think this is nicely done accessory structure myself, so.
Commissioner Hawley, this I agree. I appreciate the detail, the reusing and salvaging the newel posts for the railing. Seems like a very nice little project.
Commissioner Irby, I'll make a motion. I move that we find, in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, the standards of evaluation, that the proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for the project.
Commissioner Hawley, I'll second.
Okay. Sorry. No, that's fine, Commissioner Hawley. Okay. This is Chair Meyer again. Commissioner Irby has made a motion. Commissioner Hawley seconded the motion. So we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell?
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Commissioner Klein, aye.
And Commissioner Hawley?
Commissioner Hawley, aye.
And Commissioner Meyer is an aye. So that motion carries 6-0. Okay, we will move on to DR 22-15, which is 900 Alabama Street.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. This is for a new addition to the property located at 900 Alabama Street. This was on a previous Historic Resources Commission agenda in February, and the commission reviewed the project, and that commission determined that the refinement could be done to help the project better meet the design guidelines, and referred the project to the Architectural Review Committee. Since that meeting, the applicant did meet with the Architectural Review Committee. They worked on some of the design of the structure, recessing the addition back behind the front wall plane a little bit more. A lot of work was done on the roof line of the structure to help minimize the overall impact of the height of this structure. And we'll just take a couple of looks at the structure. This is showing the location. This is the existing structure, primary elevation. Walking around the side, the rear of the elevation. the other side of the house. This is the new proposed drawing. If you'll, the existing structure is on the left and the new addition is on the right. This is showing the side, and you can tell in this elevation view that the new addition was pushed back beyond the gabled form of the existing house. This is showing the rear of the structure. The existing structure is on your right, and the new addition would be on the left. And this is showing that north elevation of the structure with the original structure on your right and the new addition on the left. There was quite a bit of design work, and I'll let Commissioner Hawley chime in if he has anything to say from the Architectural Review Committee standpoint, but staff is recommending that the commission find the proposed project meets the development and design standards in the Oriad Neighborhood Design Guidelines for the Oriad Neighborhood Design Overlay District. And I'd be happy to stand for any questions that you may have.
This is Chair Meyer. Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Hi, this is Roy Lay. Sorry, I couldn't unmute my microphone.
Okay.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So yeah, as Lynn mentioned, we attended the ARC meeting on March 3rd, and we made corrections to address concerns that Jay Hawley and Stan Hernley had at the time, and we feel the proposed revisions echo the character and language of the original house. So we're hoping to get your approval today so we can move forward with the permitting process. So happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
This is Chair Meyer. Thank you. Is there any public comment on this item?
Luke Mortensen, Planning and Development Services. There's nobody in the City Commission room, and there are no Zoom commenters.
This is Chair Meyer. Then we will bring it back to the commission for discussion.
Commissioner Irby, this looks to me like it was a good partnership with ARC, and I'm inclined to go with the staff recommendation.
This is Chair Meyer. I'm of the same opinion.
Commissioner Irby, I'll go ahead and move that we find that the proposed project meets the development and design standards in the Oriad Neighborhood Design Guidelines for the Oriad Neighborhood Design Overlay District.
This is Chair Meyer again. Is there a second?
Commissioner Johnson, I second.
This is Chair Meyer again. Since Commissioner Irby has made a motion and Commissioner Johnson has made a second, we'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell?
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein?
Commissioner Klein, aye.
Commissioner Hawley?
Commissioner Hawley, aye.
Commissioner Meyer is an aye. Sorry. The motion carries 6-0. So good luck with your project.
Thank you.
All right, this is Chair Meyer again. We'll move on to the last item on our public hearing item agenda, which is DR 22-14, New Hampshire Street, lots 100, 102, 104, 106, 108, 110, and 112.
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. This was also a project that was heard by the commission on February 24th, and it was referred to the Architectural Review Committee. It's for a certificate of appropriateness because the property is listed in the environs of the English Lutheran Church at 1040 New Hampshire Street, the Douglas County Courthouse at 1100 Massachusetts Street, and the Parnham House at 1028 Rhode Island Street. The property is also located in the Downtown Urban Conservation Overlay District and subject to the Downtown Design Guidelines. And while it's not a review criteria or project the property was included in the downtown Lawrence plan that spoke to rehabilitation of this property. In the blue in the center of the screen, the kind of teal color is the property. It's the vacant property across from Allen Press. The blue square to the bottom of the subject property is the English Lutheran Church. And then the courthouse is on the bottom left-hand portion of your screen. The Parnham House is in the center on the right side of the screen. This is showing the proposed site. It's a vacant site. We'll just go through some of the new renderings that we received since the last project, the last time you saw this. As I mentioned, they have been working with the ARC to make significant revisions to the property or project to make it more incorporated into what the downtown design guidelines and what would be a good project for the environs review. This is showing the site plan. One of the big differences is the original plan had a U-shaped circle driveway with 2 curb cuts off New Hampshire Street and parking located on site. The new proposal is showing a greater green space between the English Lutheran Church and the new building. I believe that's 88. I can't read the numbers on that, but it's a significant amount of green space separating the two. All the parking is loaded off the alley, which was a recommendation in the downtown master plan. This design also proposes angled parking along New Hampshire Street. That was not contemplated with the downtown plan and is something that would be addressed with the site plan that will be required for this project. It's hard to, this is such a large project, it's hard to get visuals on the screen, so I would refer you to the images in your packet. It might be a little better visibility in looking at the project, but this is the primary elevation. You'll see 3 sections that'll be 3 stories. The remainder of the building will be 4 stories. They'll be connected by a glass hyphen. This is a significant change from the previous design in that there are only 3 stories adjacent to the English Lutheran Church. Also mention, while I'm thinking about it, the storefront is new. Go back one. The storefront is new on the ground level. Originally, these were work-live units. The applicant has changed their programming. This was not something required by the ARC, but an applicant's choice to change the programming to have commercial retail at the ground level. Okay. This is showing the rear of the structure, or the east elevation, with some of the architectural detailing and the brick continuing around the structure. And these are the ends, north and south, showing the different brick detailing. There is an open patio on top of the 3rd floor of the 3-story portion of the building. It will have a glass railing for a portion of it and then metal black railing for the rest of it. This is showing the elevation sketch. If you, on the right-hand side of the screen is the English Lutheran Church, and you'll notice the height of that is approximately the same height of the 3-story portion of the new structure. And then the 4 stories goes up to approximately the same height as the top of the steeple on the church. The applicants provided some renderings. Of note to see on these renderings is they have added additional brick patterning in between the windows. And there's also a brick pattern below the cornice. This is showing the opposite view. You can see a little bit of that pattern and the pattern underneath the cornice. This is showing the rear of the structure. I will let Commissioner Hawley speak to anything that he might want to talk about from the design review portion of this. Overall, the applicants made significant changes from what you saw at your last meeting. And staff is of the opinion that the applicant has met the design guidelines for downtown and the certificate of appropriateness and environs definitions. And staff is also recommending, however, that the final building materials be reviewed and approved by the Architectural Review Committee. And I'd be happy to stand for any questions you might have, or you may want to hear from Commissioner Hawley if he has anything to add.
This is Commissioner Hawley. Lynn, I don't have too much to add because you did such a great summary, but I'll just reiterate that I think the fundamental change of the site circulation to provide more green space, breathing room between the church and the lowering to third addressed the overall massing concerns that I think were felt. Just that overall elevation, that schematic really shows that reduction, and I think it will feel much better, and that there were significant adjustments and increases in the amount of detail to the brick that I think addressed all of the ARC's concerns.
This is Chair Meyer. Is the applicant here this evening? I don't think so.
Luke Mortensen, Planning and Development Services. I'm going to see if, no, I'm not seeing any non-video participants, so I don't think the applicant is with us.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer again. Is there any public comment on this item? I think there is.
Luke Mortensen, Planning and Development Services. There's nobody in the City Commission room, and we do have a Zoom public commenter. Would you like me to call on them, Chair Meyer?
I'm sorry. Yes, I didn't say that. This is Chair Meyer again. Yes, please call on the Zoom commenter.
Mr. Schneider, go ahead.
No, this is the Zoom public commentator, Ron Schneider. I compliment the applicant. I wish he was here so I could tell him directly. I think he's made major changes, looks much better, functions much better. There are two items that I and my clients would like to be considered. One, first and foremost, is the allocation of the 3 levels and the 4 level or 4 stories. We would like the 3 levels on the southern side of the building to be expanded to 4 or 5, essentially reverse what is going on the north. I don't know if an even allocation would be visually acceptable or not. We would like an extra row of apartments at the very least added to the south, making it 4 or 5 rows of apartments, 3 levels high. The third item, and it is my understanding, it addresses the exterior material. It is my understanding that currently there is a design that incorporates a great deal of limestone or limestone-like material to make reference to the church. I think it would be appropriate to include brick material for other buildings in and around the environs to bring it all together besides just the church building. Otherwise, we think it's a good design.
This is Chair Meyer. Ron, I just wanted to ask you a question. One of the things in the staff report is that the staff consideration is that the accent brick shall be used as shown on the drawings. I think is something for us to adopt. Are you suggesting more than that?
More than what?
More than the brick that is being considered on the drawings.
Well, as I understand, that's limestone. Am I wrong, Lynn? Or is that brick?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. There's stone on the columns on the ground floor, but the upper floors are brick and fiber cement panels.
Okay, my misunderstanding. As stated, it's my understanding there are going to be some details for exterior finish. And I would like that to be part of the consideration to incorporate the bricks that surround the property across the street in particular, and to the north, which is a red brick that may or may not fall into the review conclusion, but I would like that to be a consideration. So I'm not asking that. I don't know how to say to Chair Meyer that I don't want to hold up the project and say that's an absolute necessity.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer again. And Ron, I'm not totally certain what you were saying as far as the apartments. Can you repeat that?
Yes, if you look at the elevation of the apartments, you have what appears to be, well, on the southern side, you have a structure that has, I believe, four columns, 3 stories high. On the north side, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 columns, 3 stories high. I'd like the 4-column structure to be larger. I'd like it to be 5 or 6 columns instead of the 4. That is a strong recommendation, but it is nothing that I'm suggesting should necessarily prevent the project from going forward.
This is Chair Meyer again. Thank you.
This is Commissioner Irby. Can I ask Mr. Schneider who you're representing? And then can you also explain the rationale for the recommendation about changing the apartments?
Sure. I'm representing first myself. I own property within the environs or near the environs, 1047 Rhode Island and 117 East 11th. Then I'm representing individuals in the neighborhood, and they've asked that I not disclose their name. Regarding the recommendation on increasing the 3-story level versus the 4-story level is just to reduce the mass and the total structure of the building and to give further recognition of the adjacent church to the south and its height. The red brick is in reference, as I said, to the properties across the street and to the north. And the properties across the street in particular, I don't think they're on the historic register, and Lynn can correct me if I'm wrong, but they are older and significant structures, and they are composed of exterior red brick. I think it'll help the context of this new building.
This is Chair Meyer again. I don't believe we have any other public comment, so we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion. Sorry, I want to make sure I didn't mute myself. I just want to point out that in the staff report, there were considerations from staff, those considerations being the section of the building that connects the 4-story to the 3-story portions of the building should be a glass curtain wall with no fiber cement panels, etc. And then the railing for the outdoor patio area should be clear black metal. Wood is not appropriate material. The storefront should have the divisions shown, but the transom and middle section of the window should be transparent. The lower section should be spandrel glass or other opaque material applied to the glazing. There should be no tint to the middle and upper sections of the storefront glazing. The accent brick shall be used as shown on the drawings. And that the Architectural Review Committee should approve the final material color selections. I guess in considering the project, I would suggest that I think that those items of considerations from staff be included in any approval of the project is my 2 cents.
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator, with the revisions that the applicant submitted that were added to the packet that you're seeing this evening, they did change that wood railing to a metal railing. So that one's shown on the most current plans.
Sorry, this is Chair Meyer again. Lynn, did you discuss the other considerations from staff with the applicant?
Lynn Braddock-Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Yes, we went over these when I spoke with the applicant yesterday.
This is Chair Meyer again. What, I guess, was the applicant willing to make those changes?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator, yes, they were willing to make those changes.
Commissioner Irby, Commissioner Klein, did you have your hand up?
Yes, I did. I wasn't sure what's appropriate here. My understanding is that I could be wrong, but I thought that the neighborhood would prefer, as well as the ARC would prefer, that the south end of the structure be 3 stories instead of 4, which is what we're currently looking at, correct?
Lynn Braddock
Correct.
Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator, that's correct. The south end would be the 3 stories and the north end would be the 4 stories. The reasoning for that, having the length of each one of those is trying to maximize the number of affordable housing units that can be accommodated by the structure.
May I ask any questions about the number of affordable housing dwellings, or is that not relevant to the HRC?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. You can ask and I'll try to answer if there are basic questions that would have impact on the design.
Okay. I was wondering if I noticed that in the neighborhood also noticed in their earlier letter of for the April 21st meeting that there is only one 3-bedroom apartment. And I note that there are 34 parking spaces behind the building. I was curious to know if there could be, if the developer had considered more 3-bedroom apartments for families and fewer 1-bedroom studio apartments, given the fact that there may be fewer KU students who will be attending KU the more in the future, and looking like 10, 20 years down the line here, as KU appears to be moving towards more online courses.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. The bedroom count did change some with changing to the 3-story portion and the 4-story portion. That count is on that site plan that was on the first drawing. And I believe they added a couple 2-bedroom units and have, we'll go one more and let's see if it's on the, no, I didn't do it. And have more, I believe they took away some of the 1-bedroom units and added a couple of 2-bedroom units, but that information's on the, I believe it's the second sheet in your packet information that has the bedroom counts in the
Okay.
bottom left-hand corner.
And this is Chair Meyer. Commissioner Klein, when we first reviewed this project, we did have some discussions. I think that, I'm not trying to take credit, but I think that we brought up the fact that there weren't many apartments that had multi-bedroom units. And the issue is, I guess, who is the project catering to? Not so much families, probably, if it's 1 bedrooms, et cetera. And we also had some discussion about the parking as well, just overall generally. So I don't know that we didn't say too much about it, but we did have some of that discussion. And and one other thing I guess I wanted to do, Mr. Schneider, was there any concern among everyone regarding how the parking is designed with this project?
I talked with Lynn about this, and based upon everything I've learned, any other alternative that I was considering or my clients were suggesting would involve some curb cuts in New Hampshire. And as a result, there would be a net loss. So I think given with the space that's available and the number of units that want to accommodate it, I think this is the optimum way to approach it. The only other solution would be to have less units. And with less units, I don't know if it's financially feasible to do the project.
Mr. Chair Meyer, again, thank you.
Commissioner Irby, and I'm curious to hear if Lynn or maybe Commissioner Hawley What is your impression of how the applicant would respond to Mr. Schneider's other recommendations, particularly about reducing the massing on the south side, I think it was?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I think what's driving the design that you see now is trying to maximize the number of affordable. This is a affordable housing project that's going for affordable housing tax credits, and they're trying to maximize those number of units to have a good, strong application for the tax credits.
Commissioner Irby, so in other words, not going to like the recommendations. Is that what I'm hearing?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I can't answer for the applicant. I wish they were here, but it has been working with them. I would not think that they would work on reducing the number of units.
And Mrs. Chairmeyer again, and Lynn, correct me if I'm wrong, there are some deadlines associated with this project?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Yes, they have to have their application in. I believe it's by May 6th. I could be incorrect on that date, but it is very soon to be able to apply for those tax credits.
This is Commissioner Hawley. I'll add, Lynn, so again, I cannot speak for the applicant. This is just my recollection of the change that would be the hypothetical change talked about there would effectively reduce the number of 4 units, which I got the sense that the pro forma economically could be made to work for that. They just need to pick. The applicant, I think, is dealing with attention for economics and neighborhood of the more units, the stronger their application, and the neighborhood calling for a desire for more and more affordable units. So it's a balancing act, and this was what was viewed as a sweet spot between deference to the church and the maximizing the number of units. That they were trying to accommodate both sides.
This is Chair Meyer. I'd like to recognize Mr. Schneider. I think he has something to add.
Thank you. I want to be clear, recognizing the deadlines and the economics of this, which I am not familiar with. I don't want my recommendations made on my behalf, not on behalf of my clients, to be a deal breaker. If the applicant would consider it and still can do it, that would be wonderful. I would give him a very high grade. If he doesn't do it or is unable to do it, I think the project is still acceptable.
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Commissioner Klein.
May I ask, Mr. Schneider, does the neighborhood believe now that the visual appearance has been softened from the first time they saw the proposal?
I can't speak on behalf of the neighborhood. I've got a handful or 3 or 4 clients and myself, and we're all of the opinion, yes, it has improved the design, the massing dramatically and significantly. So we are much happier with it.
Okay, thank you.
This is Commissioner Irby. I'm inclined to go ahead with staff's recommendation.
This is Chair Meyer. I don't know if that was a motion, Commissioner Irby, or you're just a commentary.
Commissioner Irby, I like to kind of pre-motion before I make a motion.
Okay.
So that is my pre-motion.
And this is Chair Meyer again. I guess my take on it is that I think a motion which encompasses the considerations of the staff and the staff report to approve the project would be good. I mean, I don't mind, I guess, including a recommendation that the applicant consider what Mr. Schneider was saying, but I don't know that I would make that a requirement necessarily. That's, I think, probably far outside my purview, just because I wasn't at those ARC meetings where all that was discussed about how that would work. But
This is Commissioner Irby. I mean, I'm inclined to go with what staff recommends here and note Mr. Schneider's additional suggestions in the minutes, but keep the motion to what staff recommends.
this is Chair Meyer, and just to be clear, Commissioner Irby, are you talking about including in the motion to approve the project that the applicant also be required to complete the considerations from staff?
Yes, Commissioner Irby,
Okay.
yes, that's what I would motion, yes.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I have just sent an email to the applicant to see, it was my understanding they were going to be here this evening to be able to answer questions. I don't know if they thought, since we had such a full agenda, they could join at a later date. So I would recommend maybe a 5-minute recess to give them time to respond to that email. They may be able to answer some of these questions.
All right, this is Chair Meyer. We will go ahead and take a 5-minute recess and come back at 7:10. All right, it is 7:10. Still waiting on. Here we go. This is Chair Meyer again. I think all the commissioners are back. Lynn, have you received any response?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I did not receive a response to the emails.
Okay. I guess, do you have any concerns regarding the motion that the applicant may have concerns with, or you're just doing due diligence about it?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. It's mainly doing due diligence to make sure that they would agree to those guidelines before the commission votes on them.
Okay, but they're aware of them, right?
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Yes, they're aware of them. And it would also be possible if for some reason they had an issue with those, they could bring the project back to the commission next month. But it was my understanding that they had to have the approval before they could submit for their tax credits. But most of those things that are identified in the list of staff concerns are things that really would not significantly impact the cost of the building.
Well, this is Chair Meyer again, that I'm more inclined to just include those in the motion. You know, if they want to bring it back next month for further discussion, that way they can go along with their application for tax credits.
This is Commissioner Johnson. I'd be inclined to move for approval with those, including those considerations by staff. I don't think that we should get into the recommendations from the neighbors without seeing what that would be. So I wouldn't be able to really form an opinion on those suggestions because I just really don't know what that would look like. But I think this is a good project the way it is with those considerations and would move for that approval.
This is Chair Meyer again. I'm going to make a motion that we approve the project with the additions of the considerations listed from staff in the staff report, and find that in accordance with Chapter 22 of the Code of the City of Lawrence, that the standards of evaluation find the proposed project will not significantly encroach on, damage, or destroy the landmarks or their environs, and issue the certificate of appropriateness for the project. Is there a second?
Commissioner Johnson, this is second.
Okay, Commissioner Meyer has made a motion. Commissioner Johnson has seconded. We'll take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby?
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson?
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell?
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein?
If I may, Ms. Chairman, I would like to pass.
Are you mean abstain?
Abstain, yes, please, if that's okay.
Commissioner Hawley? And Commissioner Meyer is an aye, so that motion carries 5 in favor, 1 abstaining. And then we also have a second part to the approval of this project, and I will move that we approve the project with the considerations from staff included in the staff report, and find that the proposed project meets the intent of the downtown design guidelines for the downtown conservation overlay district, and approve the project with the final building materials and colors to be approved by the architectural review committee.
Commissioner Irby, second.
Okay, this is Chair Meyer. Commissioner Meyer made a motion. Commissioner Irby seconded. We'll go ahead and take a roll call vote. Commissioner Irby,
Commissioner Irby, aye.
Commissioner Johnson,
Commissioner Johnson, yes.
Commissioner Ezell,
Commissioner Ezell, aye.
Commissioner Klein,
Commissioner Klein abstain?
Commissioner Hawley, and Commissioner Myers and I. So that motion carries 5 in favor, 1 abstaining. Okay, we will then move on. We are finished with the public hearing items and move on to any miscellaneous items.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. Just wanted to remind you for the May meeting, we will be having our annual training from the State Historic Preservation Office. So it's really important that you mark your calendars and be here for that meeting, as that training is required for commissioners for our certified local government status. So just make sure you mark the May meeting. It's the 3rd Thursday in May at 6 o'clock on your calendar so we can get that training conducted.
This is Commissioner Johnson. That's the 21st. Then, okay.
Lynn Braddock Zollner, Historic Resources Administrator. I believe that is the 21st. It's that 3rd Thursday. It's your regular meeting night.
The
I
third
think that's
Thursday is
the
May 19.
19th, yeah.
Yeah, May 19th.
And 19th.
My computer was slow on changing from April to May. This is Commissioner Johnson. Sorry about that. That lag time got me.
Okay, and this is Chair Meyer again. Lynn, I think we just had the applicant from the last project join in.
Go ahead, Nana.
He's here.
I'm sorry, is he in attendance?
I am. I apologize. I couldn't log in for some reason.
This is Chair Meyer. We already reviewed the project and we approved it with the inclusion of considerations from staff as outlined in the staff report. Are you aware of what those considerations were?
Yeah, I mean, we went back and forth discussing them. I felt like we addressed most of them with the latest rendering. I apologize. I wasn't able to get in. If there's any direct question, I'm happy to answer it.
Well, I guess the issue is we have reviewed the project, took public comment. We did take a roll call vote to approve it with those considerations. What we did discuss is that if there were issues with those considerations, that you could bring the project back to us next month, but that this would allow you to proceed and move forward with your application for the tax credits.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So do you have any questions about that?
I don't.
Okay.
I'll circle up. I'll circle up with Jason Dalton, and if we have anything specific, we'll work with Lynn and her staff.
Okay, fantastic. All right, this is Chair Meyer again, and we were just including the miscellaneous items portion of the evening, and I don't know that there were any other miscellaneous items from anyone. It appears that there are not. So if there are not, then I will go ahead and move that we adjourn the meeting for this evening. So.
Second,
Thank you, everyone.
Commissioner Klein.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned.